Welcome back to the Rugby Connection podcast by the fans for the fans. This week we have had a very, very good week of rugby. We saw the end of the Women's Six Nations, a very good end, and we will get onto that. Champions Cup and Challenge Cup semi-finals, very, very interesting there, and a ton of other rugby to talk about. This week we are joined with Murray, of course.
Woo! Never miss an episode.
And Cam.
Hi.
I think this is the first time I've been this is the first time I've been nice to you, and I say nice. It was the first time.
This is the first time we've all recorded, the three of us,
in a while.
It feels like in ages.
Yeah, this is I mean, it's nice to be here with you boys.
It's lovely to have you back, buddy.
Anyway, we've got I guess the big thing was the conclusion of the Women's Six Nations this week. We'll just round off on Super Saturday. Wales beat Italy in Italy 36-10. Another 36-10 score was Scotland-Ireland, with the Scotland women's getting back-to-back wins for the first time in 17 years.
Madness.
I'm fact-checking here, Murray. You're probably the man to ask.
I'm really not, because you can't find out half the information, which is
I think I saw it somewhere, so I'm gonna trust my gut, but I think
I trust you. It sounds, you said it with confidence, so it must be right.
I remember a lot of things. And then to put the cherry on top, the deciding game between England and France. England in front of a packed near 60k at Twickenham, won 38-33, completed the Grand Slam, won the Six Nations. Go England. To be honest, I think it's the main story of the weekend. I mean, 60,000, just shy of 60,000 in Twickenham.
Does this not just rub salt in the wounds to every smart arse online? Who cares about women's rugby?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
and listen, it was an incredible crowd. I mean, everyone getting behind. You know, this is I think there's a lot of media look at people saying, Twickenham's a massive pub, or that, it's all laddish culture, it's all casual fans. But people have turned up here with intention, with heart, and have put everything behind the girls. And it's not just a crowd. This is the crowd we want. It's not
100%.
It's not just it's not just 60,000 people. It's 60,000 fans and supporters. And to have that many people behind is unreal.
I think the key word there is supporters, not they're there. Regardless of the result, they would have probably had a great time. Obviously, it's helpful that England did win the Grand Slam on the biggest game in women's rugby history. But, they were there to support. They weren't there just, the rugby's on, let's go down there.
We blushed on it slightly last week. Me and Murray did, about maybe we sort of talked about maybe more of the negatives of the Six Nations, with obviously Ireland suffering, their loss, and everyone making it seem, as if, well done to the Ireland girls for only conceding 48 points. And we sort of spoke about, women's rugby, especially in the Six Nations, needs to be desirable. And what was it? The RFU, one of the higher ups, saying, "Who cares about women's rugby?" essentially, a week ago or something. And I think after that sort of week, there was a lot of stuff in the media about the Women's Six Nations, about the Ireland team, blah, 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 blah. I think a week like this and a game like that to conclude the Six Nations, historic attendance, it really it's a massive boost for women's rugby.
Exactly. I think with the success we've seen now, I think if we're just talking about women's sport in general, the success we saw with the England Lionesses, They've been put on a massive, they've been put on a massive, they've been pushed out there. Are the Red Roses to follow now? They've got this platform. Is it all going to grow? It's not just beneficial for women's rugby, but for women's sport in general. We've got that crowds, we've got that TV viewing. Hopefully now everything sort of comes with it.
Yes. Actually, there is something that comes with it. Very exciting. It comes out, I think it's a little later this year, October, November time. I did share it in the chat. WXV 1, 2, and 3. So for those that don't know, it's this new, almost like, I want to say autumn test series, essentially.
Yeah, it feels like that, doesn't it?
And non-World Cup year, so again, like an autumn test series. So I'm not going to go into the ins and outs because it's very confusing because it's new. So nobody really knows what's going on. But from what I've got from it, WXV1 is the top 3 from this year's TikTok Six Nations, and they'll go against the top 3 from the Pac 4 series, which comes in about a month or two's time, which is between World Champions Black Ferns, the Wallaroos, Canada, and the USA Eagles. WXV2 is 4th place from the Six Nations, with 4th place with Pac 4. The playoff winner between 5th place in the Six Nations against Spain, because they won the Rugby Europe Championship. And then final winners from Asia, Africa. And number 3 would be the loser of the playoff between 5th and Spain. 6th place from the Six Nations. And there's a playoff system to get in. So there's 18 teams for women's rugby right now.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And all it's going to do is grow, women's rugby around the world. More competitions, more TV views, more people in the stadiums, more attention on the sport itself. I think this Six Nations has been a massive step up for the women's game, especially in terms of competitiveness. Especially this final game to round off 38-33 between 2 of the top teams in the world. This is the sort of, quality rugby that people are starting to expect from the women's game. And I think going forward, with all these new developments in the women's games, these new ideas, these new fixtures being put forward, it's exciting stuff filling in that gap between the World Cup. Because, it sort of feels you've got the Six Nations, then you go on towards the World Cup. You've got a few tournaments dotted around for the women's game, more consistent fixtures throughout. Yeah, in the next 5-10 years, it's going to grow massively.
And especially, now that we know that a Lions test is coming as well, it's just growing. I think this WXV thing is it's a competition on its own. It's independent, and we can use it to push a platform to get teams together. Because in the current format anyway, you've only got how many teams there in the World Cup? 12.
That's why they're actually doing it as well. It's because the next World Cup's going to have more teams in it as well.
Okay, there you go. But to think that we only had 12 teams together, and then in most years it's only the Six Nation and the Pac 4, and we need some variation. We need teams traveling all over the places because that's how you grow the game.
What I do like is that they're not trying to follow the format of the men's game. They're going in their own direction. Obviously, this year they pushed the TikTok Six Nations further back, so it doesn't feel as sort of a tail end type thing to the men's Six Nations, and it worked. A whole different tournament in itself, whole different event, and you can tell by attendance and viewing. But it's good that they're sort of going in their own direction and sort of making the women's game its own thing instead of sort of what might feel like a follow-on if they just went through autumn tests the same as the men. And it's good that they're making their own thing out of it.
I think that if you do want to get fans watching both, then making them parallel isn't the right way, because you can't watch everything at once. I watch many different sports, and it is impossible to follow sometimes. But you can't watch everything at once, and so just having things, timing it differently, it does just put the spotlight on every single individual thing, which I think is a very good direction to go in. And I think that something that they need to try, they haven't done before, and it will definitely work, I'd say.
100%.
I would. If I had to make a suggestion, and this is just going off here, with the conclusion of the Rugby League World Cup last year, they had all 3 tournaments, men's, women's, and wheelchair, all within the same country, running parallel. None of the games at the same time, but all televised.
Yes.
I'd be a fan if, let's say, they move the. Well, I haven't got enough time for this, but let's say the next Women's World Cup is in 2027, and I'm not sure if they do any other. 2025. No. Let's say they moved to the next Women's World Cup. Sorry. 2027. Sorry. And had it playing alongside. We had schedules fitting in with both men's and women's, but both individually on their own, maybe doubling up in stadiums, televising, going back and forwards between the two. Do you think something like that could work, or do you think it needs its individual spotlight rather than integrated?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think a bit of both worlds is going to be ideal, because at the end of the day, the rugby calendar is absolutely packed throughout the year with women's and men's games, international and club rugby. So they're going to have multiple events coinciding. So I can see a sort of a structure like that, maybe with the Six Nations or with the, Women's Pacific Nations and the Rugby Championship, something like that, where they coincide. If they can sort out a schedule on that.
I think it's not so much as coinciding, not like the, let's just say, Premier 15s and Premiership, where they, where they're both parallel but they're both individual. Yeah. We need sort of level of integration, I'd say, if you want to make it work. Or do we just stick with, let's just say, how they did it this year? Men's Six Nations here, Women's Six Nations here. It's not together.
Both, and that's, I'm not playing devil's advocate here. I love the fact that it's not at the same time, because it means there is more spotlight on either or. But it wouldn't hurt to do the occasional, like, summer double header. Like,
yeah. I can see like with friendlies and whatnot that work.
Yeah. And why not? Well, when I've gone to say Quinn's big game in the past, they play the women's game before. And just to think, right, 1 year you might turn up early, a lot of people will come for the men's game. If you turn up early, you're going to catch the tail end to the women's game. And then the next year you might come, the next year you might come early and watch the women's game as well, because you've caught that little bit. It's caught your eye,
You've kind of hit a really good discussion I've seen online this week. So somebody was complaining that Scotland women weren't at Murrayfield. And there was a lot of people explaining why they're not at Murrayfield. It's not that they will never play at Murrayfield. It's just not yet.
Yeah. I think, again, I've never played professional rugby. I've never played professional sports. I've never played sports in front of a crowd. But I would much prefer a smaller stadium that's more packed and more atmosphere than getting your opportunity to play in a big stadium.
Because, I agree with that.
You see a lot, but you see a lot of these, like, maybe lower tier competitions in all sports, really, where you think to yourself, right, they've got the opportunity to play in the big stadium.
Yes.
And they get the facilities, they get everything like that, and it's a great day out. But at the end of the day, it's not the atmosphere you're looking for. It just doesn't feel as special as if it was, in a small confined stadium where everyone's packed to the rafters and you can feel the noise.
I mean, I think that's the problem that the South African teams face in, say, the URC and the Champions Cup, because we play in, Kings Park, Ellis Park.
You play in national stadiums.
We're playing in national stadiums, and we're getting attendance of like 15 to 20,000, but it looks like there's no one in the stadium. I think you're completely right. Where I'd rather play in a place like the Dam, which is completely packed out with that atmosphere, than play in somewhere like DHL Stadium, where there's 15,000 people there, but it looks absolutely dead.
Yeah,
and I think that it's a much better product when you're at capacity.
Yeah. So so basically what I said was, like, the girls will get to Murrayfield, like the Red Roses have done this year on their own. It will not be the now, and that's not a bad thing, because we're making records every time the girls are home now. we were just shy of 5,000. I know compared to like Twickenham, but again, we're getting there. It's not a sprint. We don't have to do it all at the same time. We will get there, but I think the best way to start it would be like in the summer or one in the autumn, a double header, like you said, Harv. Get there early, get the women's game. And I also think the way women's rugby is going, people will want to get there early to watch the girls. It's not just let's go through early.
Well, we'll move on in a second, but if I have to conclude it up anyway, women's rugby is not finished product at the moment.
No.
But I think if you start watching now, you're going to see something really, really beautiful develop.
I actually think if you don't start watching now, you're going to get left behind.
I think right now we're seeing the development period, and it's developing rapidly. I think if you're not keeping up, you're going to miss it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, but that's it. That's it. Done and dusted. Six Nations women. I'll quickly just run through the table just to conclude it off. In sixth, 0 points from this year. Ireland. In fifth, 4 points. Italy. In fourth, 10 points, 2 wins. Scotland. A better year, a successful year compared to the last few. So looking up there. Wales. Coming on from their full-time contracts, 15 points and in third place. France very narrowly missing out on 21 points in second, and England, who we probably never doubted, Grand Slam, 25 points in first. So congratulations to Red Roses. Right, we'll move over because other rugby this week as well. Should we move to the Champions and Challenge Cup? I want to say European. Cup, but...
Should we do a Challenge Cup first?
Yeah, I want to say European Cups, but that it pains.
No, well, technically, yeah. Right now they are.
Actually, you know what? Yes, the European Cups again. Get in. Anyway, right. So we'll start with the Challenge Cup. 2 semi-finals. We had Toulon versus Benetton and Scarlets versus Glasgow. As much as it pains me to say, we'll talk about the first game. Toulon versus Benetton. 23, Benetton 0.
I actually feel a bit bad about this because I said in a joke, as a joke, that well done Benetton, first Italian team to get to a European semi-final. I think this is where the fairy tale ends. I didn't think that a 14-man Toulon would do it. I didn't reckon Olivia was going to get sent off 6 minutes in, and they were going to get nil points.
Well, it was quite a weird game, if you ask me. I mean, very quick start, 17 points in the first 20 minutes. Well, Ollie Vaughn got the red card within the first 5, and it was kind of just really, really flat after that. Two penalties from Dan Bigger and only 6 points in the second half. Benetton were shut out. And in rugby, I want to say a shutout, but a clean sheet, however you want to say it, we don't have a word for it because it's not common, is it?
It's just embarrassing.
How annoyed would you be if you're the Benetton head coach? Like that, you're making history just by stepping on the field. You've got the advantage for 75 minutes and you don't score.
It
looks terrible. It really, really looks terrible. I think I'm not going to write this off as this has ruined Benetton's season. This is because Benetton have had a good season.
Yeah.
It's just I think as from a neutral standpoint, it's annoying.
Yes, that's fair. I agree with that.
It's annoying.
Might I just say, Sergio Parisse might as well be a fly half. You can't deny it, Murray. He was absolutely on fire that whole game.
Does this not just add to the point of what we're on about, like here, what Benetton did? That if you're letting a 39-year-old number 8 do that against you.
Yeah, I think you got to give Parisse a bit of credit. I thought he was amazing.
Parisse the greats. We're not gonna. Murray.
He's a legend of the game. That's all I'm saying.
He's a legend of the game, and he's still going. I think Dan Bigger's settled very well into Toulon. He's he's just doing his thing.
Exactly.
But
so,
Benetton, very flat, very disappointing. Like Harv said, just the most frustrating game to watch from a neutral standpoint.
Yeah. We'll turn over to probably a nicer game. We'll go Glasgow get the win over the Scarlets 35-17. I would say a bit more fruitful. It was kind of lights out by about 60th minute.
Yeah.
Glasgow get a last minute try just to kind of just put the nail in the coffin there. But Glasgow are in the final. It's a Scottish team in there. Murray, are you?
I am happy.
I was going to say, I suppose that probably on the pitch you hate each other, but then off the pitch you kind of feel, oh, it's a Scottish team. It's the only other Scottish team.
So in the league, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I don't care. This is how I process. So in the league, I don't really want Glasgow to do well, purely because they're in the same league as Edinburgh, obviously. When it comes to European competition, I do kind of root for them, because ideally the dream is you want both especially if you've only got two, you want both your teams in the final, or both finals, essentially, which would look great.
Well, I'd say for myself that I'd want all English teams to win apart from a select few. Oh, bloody hell, you read my mind there, I think.
Sorry, it's terrible hay fever, that. Sorry.
Yeah, bloody hell. Oh, it's May, Murray. Come on.
I know.
You think it should be over.
But no. Listen. The atmosphere of Parker Scarlets is always amazing. It was the same this game. Scarlets have done well to get to the semi-final. They've made history themselves. First time they've made it to the semi-final of a European competition. The first half, very tit for tat. The competition was good. And then, second half, Glasgow just opened up. And I mean, they have been quality all season in the URC and in the Challenge Cup. So you've got to hand it to them. Glasgow. I can honestly see, I can see Glasgow being contenders for the URC, just based on their current form, and I can see Glasgow winning the Challenge Cup against Toulon.
I think it'll be a very interesting game.
It's going to be an interesting game. The one thing that I think is going to be the big side is it's a neutral venue.
Yeah,
well, that's close to Scotland. Like it doesn't take much to get from Glasgow to Dublin.
Well, I know, but
I think ideally for a final, a neutral venue is perfect.
Yeah, of course.
We're not looking
unlike the Champions Cup final.
Yeah, we're not looking at any team here. No, I do think we've got an interesting final on our hands. This is two teams that I don't know what they're going to throw at each other.
I need your help, boys. Genuinely, because I'm racking my brain on this. So, both European finals are the same weekend as the London Sevens, which is a stupid scheduling conflict anyway, but I can't go to the Champions Cup because there's genuinely no tickets unless I win this competition. Fingers crossed. Anyway, do I get a ticket to the Challenge Cup final, or do I hope that a friend of the show gets picked for the London Sevens and gives me the spare ticket like we discussed in the chat?
I think I don't know. I think going to a European final would be special. I'm doing this from a position where I've gone to London Sevens twice.
But I've been to a European final.
Oh yeah, you have.
I
think it depends. It depends what you're. I think it depends what you're looking for. I think a European final is going to be, it's going to be a big game, just the one game clash of everything. There's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot behind it. Whereas, when you go to a Fans of Sevens tournament, you're watching the rugby, but it's a party atmosphere. There's everything else going on. So I think it depends how much you actually want to do you want to have a good time and act like a festival, or do you want it to be a big game and you want to be there and you want to say that you weren't there?
So you've got two options in my opinion, because if you go to London Sevens, you don't have to go to Ireland. If you go to if you go to the Challenge Cup final, then you don't have to go to London. So it's a win either way.
You're just like, oh, I've got two options. He's got bloody two options. It's the only options he's been picking.
You are hopeless at this. Because basically, so wait a minute. I've never been to Ireland, ever, for anything. But I've also never been down to Twickenham.
All right.
I say go Ireland. I say go Challenge Cup final.
I've been to both the Aviva and I've been to Twickenham. I didn't go to the Aviva for rugby, but
should go for an Ed Sheeran concert or something?
No, I went for American football.
One Direction reunion.
No, yeah, the Aviva gets used for everything, Murray. No, but I don't know. I think Twickenham's obviously a magical place. I just don't think you'll get the Twickenham atmosphere that a lot of people look for when you go to the Sevens. We need
that for Scotland because we always have more atmosphere when we're down there. Sorry, Harv.
All I'm saying is, if you're looking for a magical atmosphere, something you can say, oh, I can't believe I was there. Go to the Aviva.
Okay.
That would be my advice.
It's decided then. You're going to the Challenge Cup final. Congratulations, man.
I know. I don't want to make the decision for you. I just want to.
I'll happily make the decision for you, Murray. You're going to the Challenge Cup final.
If it was between me and I've been to the London Sevens twice. If for me, I'd go to the Challenge Cup final. I understand that. Well, you've obviously been to a final before, but who's to say you can't do the Sevens next year as well?
Exactly.
You know what? We're TikTok clipping this. We're going to let the public decide.
Yeah, there we go. Poll.
Let them decide your fate.
Should be coming out somewhere. Where does Murray go on the weekend of the 20th to 21st? I'll be in Spain, so I might watch whatever.
Flex.
Harv in Spain. There's a secret option number C. Number three.
You can join
Murray,
me.
Murray smuggles himself
you
into
join me clubbing on the Spanish seaside. Anyway, let's move on quickly to the Champions Cup. We had
deja vu.
No.
We had Leinster turning over Toulouse in the Aviva. Have they played a game outside the Aviva?
Yeah. You were there. You were at the RDS.
No, I mean in the Champions Cup. That's not the away fixture.
Yeah, no, I don't think they have.
No, all their knockout games have been in the Aviva. You know,
it's just
anyway. So let's just say the home team have been winning comfortably over Toulouse and La Rochelle beat Exeter Chiefs 47-28. Murray.
No.
I suppose it kind of went wrong in the first half for Exeter. It was 26-7 at half time.
Do you know what killed it?
He's got the opening score, but La Rochelle were quickly to turn that over.
So 7-all, very enjoyable. Could literally go either way. Chiefs get a yellow card, and that's one team you do not want to give the man advantage is La Rochelle at home. No. Big European, just don't do it, and just opened the floodgates, and just quite simply, Exeter just could not play catch up because of the damage done.
I mean, it was an even second half. It was 21-21 in the second half, but the damage had already been done effectively.
Yeah, it's La Rochelle, and I said it to Murray. We've got deja vu. We've got the exact same final as we did last year.
This time in Ireland.
It's in Ireland. It's in Ireland this time.
Before we get on previewing a final, we'll talk quickly about the Leinster Toulouse. I mean, there's probably not much to talk about.
Jack Conan got me a back. I don't even have words. He sent. I think it looked like DuPont, but I don't think it was. His second try, he sent one of the Toulouse backs packing, just dummy, and the guy just like you could see. Like an outer body experience. The boy just stood there.
Well, his soul just left his body. He was like,
soul gone. Player not found. User not in operation. Yeah, gone.
Leinster, no disrespect to lose, Leinster are going to run rampant anyway. It's at the Aviva; they've got a big home crowd behind them.
Yeah, Leinster are just a terrifying team.
I genuinely didn't think Leinster were going to run away with it. Going into it, I thought it was going to be nice and tight. Toulouse were going to avoid what happened last year to them in the semi-final against Leinster, and then they just went, you know what? Who needs discipline? Arseholes.
Anyway, we've as we were talking about, we've got the same exact final, Leinster versus La Rochelle. Do you think it'll be a similar thing to last year?
Now, listen,
if it's the same result, do you think it'll be, even better this time round?
Yeah, I think I said if anyone's going to beat Leinster, it's a team like La Rochelle, like they did last year, because the teams who have beaten Leinster in recent times, in both the URC and the Champions Cup, are teams who dominate them at the set piece, teams who dominate at the breakdown, and teams who can physically front up and outmuscle Leinster. And La Rochelle have that exact blueprint. We saw in that Exeter game, they were absolutely dominant at the set piece, absolutely rampant at the breakdown. If you take away, I think I was saying Leinster thrive off of first phase ball, off of a set piece. They thrive off of quick breakdown speeds, quick ruck speeds. La Rochelle have everything they need to take that away from Leinster. So if anyone's going to beat Leinster, it's going to be La Rochelle, but it is Leinster at home. So
I can't see past Leinster purely for the fact that, this is, I'm not going to say proceedings for them, but how much can it feel like a final? How much can you get nervous for when it's in your own backyard, when you're going to have a big, a sea of blue basically out in the stands? This is almost routine for Leinster. They know what they're coming up against. They know what's going to be behind them, and all those external factors they've acclimatized to. They know everything.
At the end of the day, and I know that we do, as fans of different teams, we do love to see Leinster lose just because we're so used to seeing them win. But at the end of the day, they do fully deserve to win this title. They probably fully deserve to win the URC as well. They've been absolutely on fire. By far, without a doubt, I can say this with no doubt in my mind, they are the best club team, in my opinion, this year anyway, in the world.
I was going to say exactly the same. We don't have a deciding competition, but if you had to nail it on the head, Leinster are the best team.
I just think in terms of consistency and performance,
I think we could have given it to anyone. 5 years ago, we could have given it to anyone between Leinster, Sarries, and Crusaders.
Yeah. You know what's mental? Just as you are talking about this, Leinster have not won the Champions Cup
since 2019, isn't it?
2018.
2018.
Where they beat Racing. Where they beat Racing 15-12 when it was that really weird one when they went to Bilbao.
Yeah.
The final. They have then since lost the final to Saracens and last year's final to La Rochelle.
Yeah.
They've also missed two. La Rochelle have been in two finals, losing one and then winning one. Racing's been in two, losing both. Unlucky. And Exeter Chiefs were also in one. Yeah.
I think if we're gonna, if there's gonna be any year for Lens to come back and get their fifth star, I believe, to put them equal with Toulouse.
Yep.
It's gonna be this year. They're at home. They're on absolute fire in terms of form. And listen, like I said, if they do end up winning the title, fair enough. They fully deserve it.
I don't see any way past Leinster. I mean, simply enough, they are a robotic unit. Nothing goes wrong.
It's true. But listen, if I turn it over, I'd also love to see La Rochelle win and get a second start.
100%. And last year looked so special. I mean, last year they were completely, caught up in the emotion of it all. And how good did it seem? And to go back and to do it again on the double, how sweet if that is a feeling. And I I don't want to, lead to believe that the odds are heavily in Leinster's favour, but I think La Rochelle will be looking into the game and thinking, we don't just need to win, we need to shock people.
Just playing devil's advocate. Obviously, Leinster have
I'd say
had.
that's Murray's role. What are you doing?
Obviously, Leinster have had an absolute amazing season in all competitions. But let's say they lose the final to La Rochelle and they also get knocked out in either the quarters or the semis of the URC again. If they don't go, home with any silverware from this year, does it sort of put their amazing form this season? Does it sort of make it all redundant?
Yeah,
I think
it was the same as last year.
I would think it's one of those seasons you look back on where it's, what could have been.
Exactly. If Leinster don't get silverware in either of these competitions, do they suddenly become a team that choke in these playoff spots?
I don't think it's choke because they're not a team that's we've been waiting to win or we've been waiting to win when we have to. It's not one of them teams. It's just the fact that they've been unlucky at the final hurdle. I don't think they're chokers. If they don't come away with the silverware,
it's massively disappointing for fans and the team itself.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it. I think you can look at the year as a positive.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be one of those frustrating years where when you put in so much effort and things don't fall right for you.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it will be seen as like a great season if they lose because they did it last year.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like last year's season, everybody remembers, La Rochelle winning. Everybody remembers the Stormers lifting the URC Cup. Nobody realizes that Leinster were the clear best on form team throughout the season. But
nobody remembers the best running team. It's always the winners that you remember.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Being the best team doesn't win you. Well, in most formulas,
it wins you the URC Irish Shield because that is a redundant trophy.
But you know what I mean. How many times have we seen great teams not actually made? Having a great season doesn't mean anything if you can't win the games that are that crucial.
I think if Leinster get overconfident, especially with a big final coming up in terms of the Champions Cup, if they get overconfident against a team like La Rochelle, they could be seeing an upset again. But I don't think it's going to happen. I do think they're going to go.
I think that if they lost last year, and I think that will help them purely because they want to. They
definitely
want
a driving force. Especially the same fixture, but this time you're at home. Revenge is in the air. Yeah, I agree with you.
They want to show that last year's in the past, and it isn't just a loss. It probably cut deep, and they want to show that they've healed from that.
100%.
Right.
Shall we move on to some Super Rugby?
I was going to say, yeah, we did have some Super Rugby. We'll go over it. Make some comments. Hurricanes beat Brumbies on Friday, 32-27. I want to say Friday night, but obviously it's early morning for us.
Yeah.
I'll say Friday night for you Southern Hemisphere blokes and girls. I say blokes colloquially, by the way. Anyway. Also on Friday night morning, Waratahs beat the Highlanders by 1 point. 20.
I believe that's the first time Waratahs have beaten Highlanders in how many games? I think Murray, you said it.
Oh, I can't remember it now. You put them.
I'm having a look for you boys.
It's the first time they've beaten the Highlanders in a good while.
No, they beat them last year.
Oh well, so that stat was completely redundant.
No, it would have been 2018 the last time at home.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that as exactly what I meant.
Yeah. Saturday night or Saturday, Blues turned over the Fijian Drua 30-14. Rebels got over Moana Pacifica 43-33. Chiefs took on Crusaders and absolutely smacked them 34-24. And Reds beat the Force 31-17.
Any go undefeated?
Huh?
I asked Cam this last week because it is now just going to become a continuous question. Can the Chiefs finish the regular season undefeated?
I
The last
think
team to do it was Crusaders in 2002.
I think they've conquered their last hurdle. If I'm honest, I think the Crusaders realistically, the Blues can maybe do it, but I think the Crusaders realistically were going to be the only team who are going to overturn and upset this Chiefs team. But beyond this game now, they've tackled this sort of speed bump. I can't see anyone stopping them, and I do think the Chiefs are going to go undefeated. I think the Chiefs are going to go undefeated. I think they are going to win Super Rugby this year undefeated.
They've got 5 games left. They've got Highlanders away. They've got Chiefs. They've got the Reds at home. They've got the Hurricanes at home. They have got the Brumbies away, and then on the final day they've got the Force away. I think that the Brumbies and the Hurricanes could be maybe too high a hurdle.
Yeah, I think the Canes, but they're playing the Canes at home. I think they're going to have too much for the Canes. The Brumbies, however, I do think that's going to be a hurdle that they need to cross. But
so we just predict round 11 then.
Yeah, go on. We'll predict round 11. We have got first of all, as we were talking about, Highlanders Chiefs.
Chiefs. Bye.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be Chiefs because Highlanders are
mid.
Pretty bad.
I will excuse those comments, but I will also say Chiefs will win.
Yeah.
We have Fijian Drua versus the Canes.
I'm going to say Canes just because Blues did it this week, and now once that crack happens when you're at home, and once that's it's difficult. So Canes by 5.
Just for the sake of excitement, I'm gonna say Drua do a little bounce back. I'm gonna say Drua by 6 points.
Canes by 14.
Fair enough.
That's not big.
Nah.
Right, next, we have got Crusaders versus the Force.
Oh, Crusaders by 25.
I'm going to say Crusaders by 12 because the Force are
the Force have been the Force have exceeded my expectations this year. That's what I'm going to say.
I'll probably go in the middle of you lads and say Crusaders by 18.
Yeah, fair enough.
We've got Blues versus Moana Pacifica.
Blues by 40.
I think it's going to be Blues by around about the same 20 points again.
Yeah, I'll go Blues by 22.
Yeah.
We've got the Reds versus the Waratahs.
This be interesting because it's the battle of the, I want to say underperformers, but I don't think the Tars have underperformed. I think the Reds have underperformed. I'll sway it to the Reds with home advantage. I'll say Reds by 3 points.
Yeah, I'll go 6.
Reds by 9.
Ooh.
And then final game, we've got the Rebels versus the Brumbies.
I'm gonna go Rebels. I like how they're performing this year.
The Rebels are another team.
They're 9th.
They've been bugger it then. Brumbies by 15. I thought they were higher up. I generally thought
Rebels are 9th. The Highlanders are above them, for God's sake.
They're just outside that playoff spot. They have performed well, but the Brumbies have performed better. So I'm going to say Brumbies by 12 points.
Yeah, the Brumbies have been great. I'm going to Brumbies by 20.
Right.
We'll talk about some headlines in that case. I suppose we finished with our main competitions.
We got some URC next week.
We have got some URC next week. We'll do some quick predictions for that then. Thank you for spotting that. We've
playoffs.
Actually, we've got Premiership next week, the end of the Premiership as well. Should we rattle that off in a second? Let's talk about headline first. I've seen a headline that apparently there is talks of a merger between the Falcons and the Sharks, and delivering a team known as the North. I think it also wants to get involved Leeds Tykes and I believe whoever else may be in the championship.
It just sounds like a Game of Thrones spin-off to me.
Well,
Oh,
Well, I think it's a bit stupid for as much as the Premiership has actually quite stayed away from franchises as professional clubs. To start it now, I'm not sure. You know, the Premiership is an open league in its structure. Obviously, it hasn't relegated any teams for a while, but it is an open league in the pyramid structure. To start having franchises now and to have a merger between two.
I don't see the benefit in.
Well, do we? You know, we want more northern teams, but you're reducing it to one.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you've got Sale in Manchester, and then you've got Newcastle. Obviously, Falcons in Newcastle. Why? Yeah, I know. Why? Surely reducing the amount of teams. It's going to take. First off, it's going to take away from any sort of maybe northern rivalry, any competition. I don't know if Sale and the Falcons have some sort of rivalry there, but I don't see the benefit of reducing the teams. I think, you know, what really should be done is growing the franchises individually. I like the structure of the Premiership with the idea of promotion and relegation. I think that adds some excitement to each season, and reducing the teams just seems stupid.
Also, why would you kill two historical clubs to make one team that essentially no one will care about because it's not their team?
Well, yeah, you know, where are you going to base it? Where are you going to? I suppose the probably the best for commercial would be to base it in Manchester.
Yeah,
but you know, to have a team just covering the whole north, it's
the north. But the thing is, we have like there's such an oversaturation of clubs in the southern part of the country. You know, and if anything, it's going to,
the south and the Midlands. You know, rugby is
it's just going to increase that bias towards the south.
Yeah, exactly, and you know.
Imagine if they flipped it. Imagine if they flipped it and had the south.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
same logic applies. It doesn't make any sense.
You know, but the thing is, I would see more sense in something because how many teams have we got based in London?
3. If Ealing go up, actually no, Jersey Reds won the title this week. No.
But that's what I'm saying. I still wouldn't agree with it, but it would make more sense if they proposed, listen, we're gonna merge a couple of the clubs based in London. That would make more sense to me. Still wouldn't like it.
It would make more sense because it is a smaller catchment area rather than the whole north.
And the idea of calling the team the North.
Yeah, well,
it sounds like some.
I don't think that was a final draft, but I think that's what I think. That's
I don't know. I reckon they'd probably go with it. You know, what were they planning on calling Worcester?
6 ways rugby.
No, they have called it 6 ways rugby. But
oh god!
But, if you're pushing, if you're just trying to get all the teams above the M62 to if that's your catchment area from that motorway essentially to the northern border of Scotland.
I'm just saying, keep Newcastle because for a very selfish reason, it's only 3 hours drive for me. So if it's a Premiership game, I want to drive to Newcastle.
But you get what I mean. These are two both historic clubs. I'm not sure how they would do it. But you know, I think Premiership rugby's got its headache at the moment. Luckily enough, the Championship has been very, very interesting this year. And I would love a slice of that to come to the Premiership. Obviously, Jersey Reds were announced as the winners of the Championship this year. They beat Ealing. They pipped them on the final day with a big win over Ampthill in Jersey. And we're not sure. I'm not sure if they are fully promoted yet. But looking at their stadium, I'm not sure they'll get it.
Yeah.
But listen,
me that does with the promo. I understand there's
I don't understand the requirements. I mean,
there's requirements you have to meet to get promoted, but you're just holding the Premiership back at this point.
Well, there were talks about Ealing leaving Brentford and going to Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that far a journey, but Wimbledon is a 9.2k stadium, which, according to Premiership rules, doesn't meet their criteria.
Yeah.
because you need a minimum of 10,000. It's too high anyway. Premier League football, which is a much bigger market with much bigger teams in terms of fans and commercial than any team in Premiership rugby, they only require 5k. You know, they've set this unrealistic standard, and you're not quite sure where they're going with it.
It is a shame because, I mean, it would be because essentially there's 2 spots in the Premiership open for promotion.
Yeah.
So if you're just looking at from an outside perspective, you'd think the top 2 teams get promoted. So Ealing and Jersey Reds, we want to see them in the Premiership. They're the ones.
I would have loved to see, you know, in an ideal world, a 14 team league with 2 spots of promotion and relegation. I think that would have been a perfect...
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that's what makes the Premiership desirable, because it has that season to season uncertainty, you know, where you're going to be and whatnot. But yeah, I think these requirements for promotion and relegation and whatnot, I think they're just holding the RFU back in terms of their competitions.
Exactly. And I think, you know, there's a lot obviously to do with TV rights and stuff like that. But, you know, if I, you know, take Super League Rugby League, for example, it's a much smaller product, right? You've got in Rugby League, you've got 3, let's just say big teams with big stadiums that can fill the TV requirements so fairly easy, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got, you know, when London Broncos win the Super League, they played out of Ealing Trailfinders, which is 3k at capacity even. Yeah. And they're still able to fit the cameras in perfectly fine, get the TMO boards up, you know. Sky were happy with that. So I don't see the problem why Premiership wouldn't be happy with the same thing.
It is. It's just holding the competition back.
As long, you know, as long as there's probably room for development, I would be happy.
Yeah.
As long as development we knew was happening to get up to a certain scratch, I would be happy with that. But again, I'm not part of Premiership Rugby. I don't know the ins and outs. It's a bit stupid. But should we quickly go to our favourite time of the week? We have random game of the week.
Random game of the week. I am going to go. Hang on, I need to find it now because I've got on to next week.
I've got 2. Well, one's not really random, but yeah, I've kind of got 2.
Go on then.
So first of all, Exeter Chiefs women have gone back to back with the Allianz Cup, winning it again, beating Saracens. We love that. And they're technically the only team to ever hold this title because it was introduced last year, kind of like the women's equivalent to the Prem Cup. Pretty much. But it's a better structure. Just saying.
Yeah.
Exeter Chiefs won it last year. Exeter Chiefs won it this year. So, well done, girls.
Back to back.
I do have some news actually about. I forgot to say about this. You've just reminded me, Murray, about the news of the new Premiership Cup, which will involve from next
Championship teams, isn't it?
24 teams. It will include both Premiership and Championship teams, which is an amazing way for integration. I would have loved to see maybe the start of like an FA Cup style knockout throughout the whole pyramid. Is it viable yet? Probably not, because rugby in itself, a physical sport, you know, you can't really, if you put a Premiership club up against a community club, that would have been a huge, you know,
people would get hurt
badly. Yeah.
Very much.
Integrating the Premiership and Championship might be the start of that. Who knows?
Premiership Cup soon to be the best competition in
I'll be fully rooting for it. And Harlequins away days to Caldy, it might be some of the greatest nights of my life. So
happy days.
Anyway, I would like to bring my random game of the week.
Go on then.
And I am bringing you from, drumroll please, I'm bringing it from Romania in the Liga Națională.
The heart of rugby.
I know, mate. Round 5, CSM Baia Mare versus Universitatea thank you. Cluj. CSM Baia Mare beat Universitatea 71-7. kickstart their campaign. It's their first win of the tournament in 4 games, and have kicked the tournament off well. So,
I've gone along the same route as you have for an absolute thumping. Now, Dallas Jackals in the MLR made history a couple games ago now, I think, by getting their first ever recorded win in the competition against, I believe, the Toronto Arrows. But they then had to go to Seattle and play the Seawolves. 61-19 to the Seawolves. Absolutely thumped the Jackals. Just as you thought the Jackals might be putting their season back on track. They get absolutely whipped. But however, they are above the Chicago Hounds in the table, so at least they've got that going for them.
well, there you go, coming out of the USA. Murray, you said you had a second game?
Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought because everything's going wrong on my end tonight.
We love it. Bit of chaos added to the podcast.
Yes, who needs free flowing good times? So I'm going to Pro de Deux, where Grenoble beat Biarritz 35-26, and Grenoble's right up for promotion.
I was just about to say Grenoble's up for promotion to top 14 next year.
Yeah.
Which, when was the last time they were in top 14?
I want to say last. I don't follow French rugby, to be honest.
It was a while ago.
It would have been about 5 years ago or less, I think.
Yeah, but just out of interest, who's up for relegation?
What, from Pro 14?
From the old top 14?
Pro 14.
Surely.
I know. I'm sentimental, Murray. Please. It's between. Well, Brive, I'm guessing, are as good as relegated. It's between Perpignan, Pau. I don't actually know how many games left they have to go. They have 3 rounds left. So it could be any team, I believe. Ooh, it could actually get interesting. There are 10 points covering 9th to 13th.
Yep.
So 2 wins. Most likely safe are Castres and Montpellier.
Yeah. Clermont
are only 7 points off 13th. Pau on 42 points in 12th, and in that 13th spot are Perpignan.
I don't know how I feel about Clermont possibly getting relegated, but okay.
I mean, if they don't make the cut,
Brive still could. They're as good as down, but they still could make the great escape. They're only 11 points away from safety.
You need a lot going.
I can't. How does the point scoring work in the top 14?
I believe.
Is it 5 for a win and then?
I think it's 4 for a win, 5 bonus point.
Yeah.
So if they've got 2 rounds left.
3 rounds.
Oh, 3 rounds. I was going to say, but the math wasn't adding up. But fine, 3 rounds left. Could Brive do it? Probably not. Bye, Brive.
Right. Anyway, let's round it up there. We have talked about a lot of rugby tonight. We've talked about everything. But as the old saying goes, as one door closes, another one is probably shutting somewhere else. I guess what I'm saying is it's my last episode with the RCP. So
we've finally gotten rid of him. It's been
I think there are a few smiles on faces behind the scenes. I just want to say thank you to everyone2 Murray, over the last 2 years, I believe.
2 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, you would have
been going at it for ages.
We would only, I think, just less than 2 years ago would have been my first interview.
Yes, we had you as a guest.
Yeah, don't look back at that one because I was a completely different person at that time. But big thank you to Murray for the last 2 years. You've made it really, really enjoyable, and obviously we're still gonna be mates. We're still gonna be going to rugby together. But
yes, you're still gonna wear Scotland top every February because you will forever lose that bet.
Yeah, we'll have you on as a guest every time England plays Scotland.
Listen, let's not play games. But thank you to Murray. Thank you to Murray for the last 2 years. They've been really enjoyable. Thank you for letting me chat shit about everything. And also Cam. We think we've been doing this nearly almost a year. It was August. Yeah. It was August last year. 9 months ish. So yeah. Thank you to Cam for being a prick.
It's been my
I hope it's
absolute
no problem.
pleasure.
So thank you very much to them two lads, Gemma and Anya as well, and then the ones who came before, Sean, Simeon, Kyle, to all the guests we've had on as well. So
we are like the X Factor. Cam made that joke to me privately during the week that we are like the X Factor. The judges just keep rotating, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. But anyway,
that makes you Simon Cowell, Murray.
I'll have to be. I'm the only one that's stuck around. Yeah.
But anyway, thank you very much for watching, listening. Do follow the boys on socials. They are on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever you like. Do follow the boys also and the girls on their individual socials. They're all on TikTok, doing their lovely stuff, and on Instagram if you just want to interact with their daily lives, I suppose. Thank you very much, and we will see you around.
Bye, everybody.